folks, I'm Tom Vasel. You may notice this is a new set of videos. This is actually coming out of our board game breakfast videos. We're going to be doing week in review. This is just a quick video where me and other reviewers are taking a look back at the different reviews that we put out last week and telling you a quick opinion of those. If you're a reviewer and you want to get involved, let me know. Let's get started. Here are the reviews we did last week.
Hey folks, welcome back to another breakfast episode and another segment of Week in Review. And apparently the honeymoon is over between me and the interwebs because I reviewed this game right here, and apparently this game needed or should have come with a disclaimer: if you don't like Magic the Gathering, don't bother. So there's my rating for this little gem. Carcassonne, Over Hill and Dale, a standalone copy of Carcassonne with some new rules, nuances. Pretty cool. Check out that review. Nehemiah. It's a pretty cool little worker placement game that is themed around the Israelites returning from Babylonian captivity to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. Pretty neat. Check that review out. Then I also did a video this week. It was kind of a comparison video between these two guys right here, King of Tokyo and Ultimate Warriors. Kind of a head-to-head type thing, but not really, because neither one really won out over the other. They're both really good games. They just shine in different kinds of circumstances. So check that review out as well. And then the last video that I was part of course, it wasn't all me, because I had Zee and Tom and Rob Warren helping me out with it. And that was our Imperial Assault live playthrough with the battling brushes. So you can go check that out. But that's that. See you next week, folks.
Hey everybody, 3 games for you this week. The first one is the first expansion for Roll for the Galaxy. Awesome expansion. I don't know that it's necessarily required. I really like the objectives. I like the objectives quite a bit in Race for the Galaxy, but definitely give this one a look if you enjoy the base game or you like those objectives. The second one is Fury of Dracula, the 3rd edition. Awesome game across all levels. Great deduction, great strategy, awesome tie-ins to the original novel and the theme in the game. Just great across the board. The last one is The King is Dead, and the review frankly doesn't really get it across because it's super brain-burny and crunchy. Very difficult strategy, long-term strategy. It only plays in about 30 minutes though. So if you like that kind of thing, definitely give this one a look. I think it's a great game actually. So that's it, thanks.
Hey Breakfast Club, last week I reviewed 5 games. I reviewed The Devil with It, or That in German, and this is a great push your luck game with wonderful components, amazingly overproduced in a good way. I did Richard Garfield's Treasure Hunter. This is a card drafting game, very light game, but really well done. Great artwork also in that one. I did Perfect Alibi. This is sort of like a Clue style game, a deduction game with special powers. Really nice, clean design. If you like deduction at all, check this one out. The Bloody Inn. The Bloody Inn is a very morbidly themed card game in which you are killing your guests and burying them. Most money wins. I really like this one. It's sort of bizarre, but it's got great artwork, really interesting card play. And lastly, Gold West. This is sort of a Euro game in an old style, very elegant game, very cleanly designed. Big fan of this one. Wonderful Euro game. One of my favorites this year. And that's it for me. I'll see you next time.
Hi there, YouTube. I'm Forrest Bower's Game Corner, and this is my week in review. First game I checked out was Rumpelstiltskin. This is a 2-player micro game in which you're going to be trying to guess your opponent's bottom card, aka their name. It's got some cool special abilities. It plays very briskly, and as long as you can get over the fact that you can lose a round before you even had a turn, it's a very fun little micro game. Next, I checked out Queen of the Hill, currently on Kickstarter. This is a push your luck card game where you're going to be drawing the top card of the deck, trying to avoid the dark one cards. The majority of cards you're going to draw are going to be anime ladies. And you're going to have a choice. You can use the number on the top of their card for their strength to win this round, or their special abilities on the bottom of their card to use in future rounds. It plays best at the higher player counts, and if you can get past the anime artwork, this is a really fun filler game. Next, I checked out the Legion of Superheroes. This is a small box expansion to the DC deck builder. It's going to add new supervillains, new superheroes, and a really cool new mechanic called time travel, where you will be able to discard a card and utilize a time travel card from the buy row for this round. Really cool. Only cons I have with this are some of the superhero powers are a little bit meh, and Also, there's a lot of attacking, especially when you're playing a 4 and 5 player game of this. Next, I checked out Tabarua, currently on Kickstarter. This is the follow-up to Zia Legends of the Drift System, and this is all about surfing. You're going to be hopping on your board, catching breaks, riding through tubes, trying to maintain your balance. I enjoyed this game. The theme came across well, and it doesn't feel like any other game I can think of that I've really played. That being said, there are some cons. There is very little player interaction, and the game felt fidgety, / it had a slightly higher learning curve, just because there's a lot of little moving things there. But if you can get past that, it's a really fun game. Next, I checked out Santa's Bag. This is a children's / family game in which you are going to be playing as an elf, making toys for girls and boys. It went over like gangbusters in my classroom. It's got a cool trading aspect to it. I really enjoyed the game. Only cons I have are I would not recommend it at the higher player counts, and this is definitely not a game night game. That's my week in review.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. I did 10 reviews this week because I'm trying to get through my queue and I'm traveling next week and I'm BGG the week after, so here we go. Nefarious is from USAopoly. It's a reprint of an older game designed by Donald X. Vaccarino, the guy that brought you Dominion. The artwork is great, the components are among the worst I've ever seen, and the game is barely average and pretty random at best. Five Seals of Magic is being brought to us by Hobby World. It's a game with dice manipulation and using special powers of magic scrolls to manipulate dice to gain points. For me, I think there's plenty of other dice manipulation games that do this a lot better, like Favor of the Pharaoh that just came out this year, for example. So this one was average at best. Commissioned is a historically themed cooperative deck building game where you're spreading the Church of Christianity right after Christ's death. Has a lot of scenarios, very interesting mechanics and twists. It's kind of like Pandemic in reverse with deck building elements. Birds of a Feather is a card game from Teal Fristo, who brought us Corporate America that I really love. It plays up to 7 players. It's really quick. It's fun. You can play with non-gamers, but they have advanced rules to ratchet up for the advanced gamers. Great game there. Automania is a game where it's Tom's pick of the month. It's a good, solid Euro game where you're building cars, lots of good decisions to make. Excellent game that mixes economics with worker placement. El Grande Big Box. This is a classic game that just got reprinted from Z-Man Games. Area Control, solid game. I can see why it's had so much hype over the last couple years. For me, I still like Tammany Hall and that negotiation and backstabbery version of Area Control better, but I can see why it is what it is, and everyone should really play and try this game. Crossing is a fun, sort of crazy party-style game where you can bring 6 people in, and everyone's pointing and guessing and laughing at and stealing gems from each other. I did a real playthrough in this video to see what it really feels like because it's an experience game. Tons of fun, lots of laughs. World of Smog on Her Majesty's Service is a game from Cool Mini or Not. It's sort of a puzzly, abstracted game that has some special powers in this Shadow Master with this awesome mechanisms, amazing production value, cool puzzle, great production. Check that one out. And the last two are my favorite 2 of the week. Treasure Hunter, Richard Garfield's new game. It's a drafting game where you're trying to gather treasures, but at the same time, you've got special abilities, and then you're trying to fight off the goblins that are getting your treasure while you're out fighting. It's an amazingly awesome drafting game. It's sort of in that medieval academy weight, heavier than Sushi Go, but not as heavy as, say, Seven Wonders. Excellent game. And my favorite of the week, it's a Kickstarter game. What? Black Hat. This is a trick-taking game with a board where what's going on the board will dictate whether you want to win tricks or not. It's completely fascinating. It's the most innovative trick-taking game I've ever played. It's very cerebral, very gamery, but an awesome trick-taking game. That's this week. Whew.
For me, first of all, we have Baby Blues, which is a horrific take-that game in which you play good cards on yourself and bad cards on other people. It's the same as every other thing in this genre. You can trade cards. Woo, doesn't change anything. I think people might like it because of the baby theme. I abhorred it. Squish 'em Fantasy is a game in which players are going to be playing cards simultaneously, all working together to hit a monster. You want to be the last one to do it. It's a cool idea in concept, but in practice it doesn't really work that well, as you don't really have enough information. You're just kind of playing cards randomly. Push a Monster is a kids-style game, game for kids, in which you're pushing monsters onto a table, trying not to make any of the other wooden monsters fall off. If you do, you give everyone else points. A simple concept, but my kids really did enjoy it. MULE is based on Mule is based on a 1980s computer game. In fact, it's almost a direct port of that computer game as a board game. A little bit too much randomness in it for me. Maybe that wasn't the original computer game. I think it has a solid economic game. I like it, just needs a little less chaos. Rings Up is a game in which players are sticking rings on their fingers. You turn the card over, red, yellow, blue, green, red, whatever, stick them up. First one to do it gets the card. Simple concept, fun. Balanced Duels is a game in which it's almost like a mix of backgammon and dexterity. Not really dexterity, but you're moving pieces around, trying, roll dice, move them around, but at the same time they're on this balanced seesaw thing, and you're trying not to ever make it touch the ground either way. Interesting, fun two-player abstract game. Taverna is a game in which you are serving tables in fantasy to orcs and dwarves and elves and humans, and whenever a table gets served, you get points. There's different ways, different options, and it has a very unique end game scoring mechanism that I liked. Burger Boss has some pretty bad packaging. It's a little cool little hamburger, but just doesn't work as well. It also looks too kiddish, I think, for people, but it's actually a solid dice placement game where you're placing dice out on the board and getting to do different actions, and that's fun. Antarctica is a kind of a game where you have these ships and you're colonizing Antarctica, and there's lots of ways to get points in this game, but the whole thing is this sun movement around the outside. When the sun gets to an area, whoever ship is there first gets to move, and then they can move that ship to any other area. So you can move it to an area that there's no one at, so when the sun comes by you get to go, or you can move it to a really good area but other people may be there and you have to wait in queue. An interesting concept. Between Two Cities. This is a drafting style game where you are building a city between the person, you and your left and you and your right, and you build both of those cities, and they will each score, and your score is the sum of your lower scoring city. Interesting, and can take up to 7 players. Draftometer, you have a bunch of different statistics in the middle of the table, and you will flip a card, or you will see these statistics, and you are trying to guess which one is the highest and which one is the lowest. And then you flip all the cards and see, and you're correct if you guess the highest and lowest. Simple concept, but I liked it. Dr. Eureka is an amazingly great game that combines both dexterity and logic. You have some balls and vials, and you show a card, and you have to figure out how to put them back and forth until they match the card. Great fun. Kamisato Max is basically a larger version of Kamisato. It's 10 by 10 abstract strategy game. Highly recommend it. Check out my review to see how it works, but it's just one of my favorite games, and they made it bigger and better. Automania is probably my favorite game of last week. Just a very solid game about making cars. You are basically, you can build a car on turn 1. It's worker placement. When you place a thing in a row or column, you get tiles. You're making it better. Quick, well-moving game. Certainly one you should not miss. See my review for that. And that's it. That's our week in review, guys. Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower. Check out all the different reviewer channels. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.